Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Today, I am going to be ranking all of the Girls and Panzer figures I own. This is a celebratory thing in a sense. I am so grateful. We have reached 5,000 subscribers, and to be honest at this point, it's probably more like 5,100. Thank you all so much for joining me throughout my collection journey and just chilling with me, talking while we make tanks and everything else while we game on Wednesdays. I really appreciate it. I wanted to go ahead, and since I have decided to pretty much officially become a Girls and Panzer channel, since I think that's what the majority of you are here for, you can go ahead and let me know in the comments how you found me. I'm very interested to hear that. I wanted to go ahead and rank every single one of my Girls and Panzer figures that I own. The worst figures that I've ever bought have got to be, I think they're 1/12 scale. I might be wrong. Post-editing me can 100% fix that on the screen right now if I am just pulling things out of my butt. The 1/12 scale figures that you'll see for sale, and they went back up on pre-order, I believe. I saw them on Ami not that long ago, but they're these little figures that are not that detailed, and honestly they just aren't that great. I believe I opened Kay and Anchovy in a very old video of mine at this point. I say very old, it's probably from like a year or two ago. I got them for a few bucks each. At the same time, they're not even worth having in the collection at this point. I've given them to my daughters to play with. Just not that great quality. The only good thing about that line is that you do have like Nona and Rosehip. You have some characters that are more, I'll say they're like, you know, not the commanders, whereas a lot of the commanders in each school you do see as figures quite often, as you'll see from my list. But you do tend not to get those other characters as often, so you might be more tempted. And I would say just don't spend a lot of money if you're gonna get them. But for me, I don't even find collecting the entire line to be worth it, even though it wouldn't be that expensive. Number 51 is the Anchovy Sip figure. I have a issue with this one, a really big issue. While Anchovy is my best girl of Girls and Panzer, I do not like this figure because it looks like her arm is broken. I don't know what it is about that pose she's doing. It just does not look right. It does not look comfortable, and it looks worse in person than it looked just seeing the artwork. Next is the Prize Marie. I put her there because I just don't like her body. Now I'm gonna be reusing her head. I'm gonna cut her head off and put it on a different figure so I can still find use out of it. But for whatever reason, I don't really like it. I know part of it is because of the paint job on the swimsuit itself, but it just also wasn't that great a figure anyways. That's another one that I'd given to my kids, even though I will again be taking it back to rip her head off. But I don't feel like she's worth it. If you're a huge Marie fan and you want a really cheap Marie figure though, she is, I think, the only one on the market that you're probably going to be able to find fairly easily. So there's also that, and you can find her for less than 10 bucks. I wouldn't pay anywhere near more than 10 bucks for her, and I definitely paid less. But just so you know, collection wise, as you know, it takes up space and all that, I would have preferred to have put that money towards a different figure than have her eat up space in the collection room, which again is why she's in my daughter's toy box right now. Next we have the Figma Anchovy. Main reason? It's a fixed fig. I didn't know what that meant because I'm just a little slow. But fixed figs don't move, so she's basically in this pose forever. The cool thing is she's the size of a Figma, and I do like to pose her with my Tanya Figma. It gives, you know, it's another good Figma to put her with, and I do have some other figures that are very similar size coming, so hopefully they all go together. They're all kind of military girl looking figures, but ultimately why would you make it a fixed Figma? And I'm actually really confused as to what that line is at all. I don't know if they still make fixed figs. I don't know what the whole thing is, but didn't make any sense to me. Didn't know what I was getting when I got it, because all the other Girls and Panzer Figmas are posable, except for Anchovy. I don't get it. She's gone upwards of $60. Don't spend that, especially when she doesn't move. Other Figmas, like, I get it, they're more posable and stuff, and I could see spending 60 bucks, 60, 70 bucks, especially if they're new. But for something like this, no, please don't waste your money on this. And on that note, it's pretty safe to say that we're in the realm of figures that I do like, while they are now in like least needing to own to most needing. I mean, those other ones are more like I literally should probably not have bought them and I don't recommend them. But these next ones and beyond are the ones that I actually do recommend. So let's get into the more positive lights, shall we? Racing Anchovy. There are 3 racing figures from this line, I believe. There's another line of racing figures that are prize figures. I don't happen to own any, but there is a Darjeeling, a Maho, and an Anchovy. Anchovy's the only one I own. Anchovy is the only one I plan on owning. I eventually will be painting her different colors to match a little, is it called a die cast? It's a replica of a NASCAR that I had signed when I was a little kid. I don't know. I don't watch NASCAR anymore. But at the same time, I thought it would be cool to have her to display with the car, even though I am questioning whether I need to display either at this point. I do think the figure is fine though, and I believe it was on the cheaper end. I really can't remember because that's kind of thinking a little far back for me at this point, but I do have to say I do like it, but it is on the lower end of my list of liked figures. Next, however, we have the prize Anchovy and the prize Miho that goes together. My big issue with these two is that Anchovy's scale is so incredibly off that it is kind of distracting. I got around it by putting the two actually not together, even though their bases go together. They're very good quality, and especially Miho, I would say, is very much worth it. Anchovy is worth it just fine too, but again, her scale's just not accurate. And then what I mean by that, because these are not scale figures, is that if you put her with Miho, she's like really short for no apparent reason, but the quality of everything, especially for them being prize figures, is really good. I wouldn't spend more than 15 bucks for the set, and I think I found them cheaper than that, but I wouldn't spend more than that. They're good, but they are still prize figures. Always keep that in mind when you're shopping around. What things are actually worth what? Next, going back to the SIP line, I have Darjeeling. I actually really like this. I think it's a really cute figure. 30 maybe tops, I don't know. It's not that amazing of a figure. You can definitely find better figures for that price, but I think it is a cute line. It's very unique. In case you don't know, I believe the SIP line is so if you make ramen, you can put them on top of the little flap to keep your ramen warm. Someone's gonna correct me in the comments because I know I'm gonna be way off with this information, but hey, I tried! Next, we have an entire line, which I made an entire video of, and that was the prize figures of the girls on their tanks. Now, in my video reviewing them, I did put them in a certain order. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and rate the whole line together. This entire line is fantastic. Highly recommend this because they are fairly cheap. You don't have to spend much on them at all. I wouldn't go more than $5 each. The entire set is easy to find. You might have to wait a little while in order to get each one, but fairly easy to find, not very high prices, and definitely worth it for what they are. They are unique, I think. You get a tank and the girl. They're not stuck being connected, even though ones like Kay, which Kay is probably one of my least favorites, has like a big dent in her butt because of how they wanted to make her sit on the tank. But overall, I think that this line was very unique and cute, and the fact that it's so cheap and looks so good are the main reasons that I got it. Moving up on the list, believe it or not, we're like at 34 or 33 or something. Obviously, math is not my strong suit. Apparently not counting either. Anyways, the Mika 17. This might seem a little low on the list, and admittedly, it kind of is. I think it's because I'm excited to eventually unbox the Mika Dream Tech one, and because of that, I'm kind of thinking of this one versus that one and what I expect that to be, and we'll get into the Dream Tech ones that I do own later on. I think it's a fine figure. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I really like that her instrument has actual string. That is really what bumps it up. Is this something you must own? I don't necessarily think so unless you're a huge Mika fan, and then it comes down to the price of it being cheaper than the Dream Tech. And again, I'm saying that not opening the Dream Tech, but Dream Tech just tends to be very, very good in my experience. So that's why I put her here, especially because like price-wise, you'll understand. Price has a lot to do with my ranking to an extent, and then there's ones that I can't look at that because if I look at that, it's too much. Next is the prize line that I had opened up in the swimming pool, which are the swimsuit figures and their prize line. I didn't realize when I had originally made that video that the Miho I unboxed was actually the last one version, which if you don't know what that means, these are Ichiban Kyuji, and basically what happens is you go to like a convenience store, you get a little raffle ticket. You open it up, and what prize you win, you get to pick. And once they run out of the raffle thingies, there's one last prize, and that's generally a little bit different than all the others. So she's kind of more rare, the version I got. I kind of wish I got the normal version because she'd be in pink. Now she matches Katusha. It's okay. If you're interested in an entire review of these figures, again, I have an entire video specifically for them. Most of these figures do have videos dedicated to them, but that one, it is the entire line similar to the girls on their tanks. I made the entire set into an entire video of its own if you want to go check that out. But I really like those figures. I think that for how cheap they are incredibly good. They're very big, and I can't not recommend them enough, and I do recommend them over Mika just because of the price point again. And I think that they are fairly well made considering how cheap they are. And again, scale comes into play and all of that. I feel like a broken record after a while, but I'm trying to explain why I like these things and why they are where they are, other than just saying my brain wanted to put them there. Next, let's go ahead and throw in all the Q-Poche. I don't know how to pronounce this word. I happen to have pepperoni, carpaccio, anchovy, Darjeeling, orange pico, and Mika unboxed. I do actually have the entire line in the hallway, the rest of them to eventually unbox, and I can't imagine the rest are gonna have too different of a ranking for me. These again come down to price. These are not that expensive. They're very cute. I kind of like them more than Nendoroids because I find them easier to pose than Nendoroids. The sad thing about this line is that it doesn't have all of the commanders. There is no Katusha, there is no Kay, but the ones that they did come out with, I've had very good experiences with, other than their heads not staying on. But that's a very minor feature because if you're not playing with them, it's not like their heads are just popping off the shelf as I'm sitting here. They're pretty fine as long as you keep them static, and that is all that I need them to do. Next, I have the mini Nendoroid lines. Now, the main reason that I love these mini Nendoroids is because of the different characters that you got in them. You got all of the commanders in these, as well as almost all of Gloriana. I say almost because of the time it was almost nearly all of them, and now that we have some new Gloriana girls, it is a little lacking. I mean, it already didn't have but it did have the other ones, so, you know, I gotta point that out. We have some characters that don't have a lot of figures outside of it included in this line, like Assam, who I'm pretty sure has absolutely no figures whatsoever other than this. Probably a garage kit here or there. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I prefer these over Nendoroids, and I actually wish, I don't think they make these anymore. I don't think they make any mini Nendoroids anymore, but I really think they should bring that line back because they are very cute, and if you're someone who just likes the Nendoroid design, doesn't have tons of space, or also doesn't want to have to deal with trying to change out the way that they're posed, I think it's a fairly good line to have. I like it. I think they should bring it back. Even if they're not going to bring back and finish the girls in Panzer, I just like the concept of the line on its own. So, you know, maybe at some point Good Smile Company probably will not listen to me, so I was gonna beg, and then I was like, it's not gonna work. Next, I have the Yukari doll. I really like this doll. I think it's really pretty. My biggest issue is her hair doesn't want to stay on the back, but overall it's a very impressive doll indeed. I do think the detailing on her clothes and such are very, very good, but there's really not too much I think I can say outside of the review. It's just something different. They only have 2 of these dolls. Sadly, they only have Miho and Yukari. I do wish that they had the entire Anglerfish team at the least. Would have been even cooler if we got all the commanders. That is never going to happen, but I really do think that this doll is really cool. I also think that it's fairly well priced aftermarket. I believe you can find it for about what it came out for, and even if you find it for a little more, I still feel like it's worth it. So I recommend it. I need to just glue her back of her head to her skull at this point though, because I have severe issues with that with mine, but I also bought her pre-owned, so, you know, take what I'm saying there with a grain of salt. Next on the list, I have the Miho Coco restaurant figure. I love the Coco's figures. We're gonna get into them soon enough. This is really the part of the list where it says really picking up into a bunch of figures that I really, 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 really recommend because they are amazing. And the Coco's is no exception. The Coco's all actually went down aftermarket, and I think that Miho is very adorable, but she is my least favorite out of the ones that were available because I'm not a huge fan of the cheerleader look. That's just me. but I still thought she looked really adorable and I wanted to go ahead and pick her up. Still think she deserves to be here on the list. That's all I can really say about her. She is wonderful though. Next we have the streetwear figures, specifically Nona. I'm not doing the sets together just because you don't have to get the sets together, to be totally fair. And out of all of the streetwear figures that we have, I do feel like Nona is the most lacking. There's just not too much going on with her design, her outfit. Just a little bland. It's not bad. I do really like it. And again, we don't get many Nona figures, so I'll take what I can get. I think it looks nice. I like her better with Katusha, but I feel like you need Katusha really in order to own this figure and make it do it justice. I was gonna say make it look nice, but it looks nice on its own. It's just to do it justice and really make it pop, you need Katusha there as well. Whereas Katusha, I don't feel like needs Nona. Next is the Quest Q Clara. I love this figure. I think it's adorable. My only issue is her forehead. For whatever reason, I feel like she should have more forehead. And that's the only reason she is this low on the list, because I love this figure. I love everything about it. And this was really fun to unbox because I unboxed it in the snow. It was great. It was a lot of fun. And I was in cosplay. I even made my eyebrows look blonde. It was a lot of fun, and I do recommend checking that out if you are at all interested in this figure. The Quest Q line tends to be something that people are very interested in when it comes to my videos, and I cannot blame you because it's a very good line, and I wish they did more with it. I wish they made more figures to go with it, but alas, I'm not sure we will ever get that, sadly. I know, it sucks. Next on this ranking, we have the Erica streetwear figure. Similar reasons to Nona. She's just not as great as her counterpart when it comes to the set. She is great, however, if you are an Erica fan, you don't get many figures, and luckily all the Erica figures that I own are in this top part of my ranking because they are all very good, but this is where I personally would rank her. Nothing's wrong with her, she's here. That's it. And next I have Marie, which I really struggled with where to put this figure because she's not that special, but for whatever reason, I really like this figure. I think it might just be the boldness of the blue of her outfit, specifically in my collection room, because as you may be able to tell, the walls are red. So the blue on the red just makes her really pop, and I really, really like her figure. I mean, I like it on its own as well, but I think in my collection particularly, it just really stands out. And it is a nice figure, especially, again, if you're a Marie fan. Not many figures. I feel like I'm now, again, a broken record saying the same thing over and over and over and over again, but especially with Marie, again, I got that really crappy prize figure, and then there's this. And that's, I think, the only two other than the Dream Tech, which, again, I don't have that. I'm just gonna spoil that for you right now. It's not on the upper part of this list if you haven't watched my stuff. I do not own her yet. After that, we actually have the Mini History Club. So these guys actually came with the Stug 3 that I got. I got the one where they're painted all silly, and I think they're really cute. There are a couple of tanks that are this scale. I believe it is actually a 1/72nd scale. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, but they came with these little chibi versions of the History Club, and again, there are other ones that come with the other girls. I just happen to be a huge fan of the History Club, and I think that these look absolutely adorable. They're so cute, they fit nicely in the tank, and there's nothing else I can really say about it. They're the only group that I own in this type of figure, but I highly recommend them. I think they're very cute if you can find them. And again, they weren't that bad, they weren't too expensive. Next, we have the other two streetwear figures, starting with Maho. I love Maho's outfit. I want Maho's outfit. I think she looks absolutely adorable. I think she looks fantastic. The shading on this figure is phenomenal, and I really recommend it. This is not exactly the cheapest figure on the list, and actually this is where we kind of get into some of the more expensive figures all around, but for good reason. These are the figures that are really worth that extra buck, and I would say no different here. Maho looks awesome, and as does next on the list Katusha. I think Katusha's outfit is absolutely adorable. It's so cute, and it's not something you'd see, but the big thing with these two is that they definitely can stand alone. I would say Erica can also stand alone. Nona just, it doesn't look right, but these two in particular look like they almost could just, that's it. I wish they made more of these figures because they are so unique. A lot of Girls in Panzer figures are just them in their normal uniforms, and then you get some, you know, random one-offs like the Cocos or the racing figures, that kind of stuff. But like, it's not often you just get like a random, hey, here's just a random outfit from nowhere, pulled from maybe some artwork somewhere, but I haven't seen it, and I own an art book, so maybe, I don't know. We are now in the top 10, folks. Are you excited? I'm excited. Number 10 is the Coco Darjeeling. I've repainted this figure to make it look Halloween-like. I thoroughly love these figures. I love the Coco figures. I have actually thought of buying multiples of these figures just to paint them for every single month of the year and make a giant calendar, because my mom has that, but it's Betty Boop. And I like the idea of doing that, but having painted every single month a different Darjeeling and anchovy, as we eventually will point out there's an anchovy as well. I just love this figure. I love the Cocos. I love maid costumes. I think that's why. So seeing the girls in Panzer girls in maid uniforms, it's just fantastic. And the Coco's design is just so cute. So definitely recommend. All of these next ones are like highly recommend. And you can find her for not a terrible price either, less than she came out for. And there is an option of another faceplate. So if you're interested in something like that, there you go. Up from there, we have the 1/8 Yukari. I really like this Yukari of her just sitting there. It's honestly, with this one, it's not so much that it's special, it's more so that it's perfect. There is not a single flaw wrong with this figure. It is an odd scale versus all the other Girls in Panzer figures, because most Girls in Panzer figures are 1/7 scale. However, I cannot stress enough just how perfect this figure is. Like, I cannot find one flaw with this figure. It does sometimes go up for a little bit more than I personally think is worth, but you can find her for better prices on the secondary market as long as you're willing to hunt it down. If you are a Yukari fan, this is the figure I would recommend for you. Next is my Dream Tech Alice. Again, we're getting into the territory where there's really nothing wrong with the figure at all. This all comes down to my personal opinion. Alice just isn't my favorite character, and that is why she is where she is. But the Dream Tech line has really blown me out of the water. Even though I only own 2 of them, this is where I would put her, and it's just strictly because of what else I am ranking her against. She is a perfect figure. If you like Alice, highly recommend. You can get her for less than $100, but she is a more expensive figure. She is, I believe, less than what she came out for though, which is always good, especially with the Dream Tech line, because you really don't know what's going to happen with the Dream Tech line. Sometimes they go up to like $400, sometimes they're more than that, so just keep an eye on the market and you should be able to find her, because at some point it's going to dip again. It kind of goes like this with that line, except for K. K is just perpetually expensive. After that, we have the Quest-Q Erica and Quest-Q Maho. I don't really know if I have a favorite between the two, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put them both here together. I love this line, and this was actually my first video that did amazing. I haven't had a video actually hit those numbers ever. I don't know why that one trended, but it definitely did, and I'm very grateful for it, because I know a lot of you probably have come from that video, so thank you very much for joining us. And I really do love those figures. I think they are spot on to the character, and while they are more expensive, as you may have seen if you saw the video, you can get them in damaged condition and save a good penny or two doing that. So that's how I would recommend finding them. I definitely recommend those figures in general. It's a great line, it really is. Like, it deserves more Girls in Panzer girls, dang it. The top 5. We have the K Dream Tech. I love this figure, but it's too expensive. I got her for an amazing price. I got her for $150, which I still believe was more than what she came out for. But basically, someone was just selling a bunch of these figures for $150, and they had no idea what they got, and I happened to snag it before anyone else did. And oh my god, I am so lucky I did, because she usually goes for over $400, and that's insane. Never spend that much on this figure. It's a beautiful figure. It's one of my favorites. Kay is also one of my best girls. She's just not as great as Anchovy, which sadly Anchovy never got one in that line. I am a little bit butthurt about that, I'm not gonna lie. But the K figure is really nice. Other than the prize figures that I've mentioned, Kay tends to be extremely expensive, and there's not many figures for her. Highly recommend, but don't kill yourself or burn your wallet trying to find her. She's not worth it. And that, funny enough, is not going to be the only time I say that about Kay in this video. At number 4, my favorite number, we have Coco Anchovy. The reason Anchovy is so high up is, again, because she is best girl. There's no getting around that. I love Anchovy, but the reason that she is way higher than Darjeeling on the list is because of that extra faceplate. There's an extra faceplate that's like a standard extra faceplate, which I don't think that actually makes any sense saying it's standard and extra, but that's okay. There was also a very specific extra faceplate that is much more in character for her, where she looks like her normal, like, kind of assertive, but also kind of like oh crap. How do I, overwhelmed? Is overwhelmed the word? You know what face I mean, right? Anyways, I got her with that face. I love that face. I think it's perfect. And again, I would just buy a bunch of anchovies and make a bunch of different months and make a whole calendar of just a bunch of anchovies and Darjeelings for each and every month, at least the months with holidays. I think that would be kind of fun. Moving on to number 3, we have the K Bunny. Yes, the K Bunny. The K Bunny is not worth what you're gonna find her for online because people like to sell her for $600. Don't buy her for that. Don't do that to yourself. Please don't do that for yourself. Will she ever be re-released? Probably not, unless Freeing really decides they're going to re-release every single bunny they ever made ever, in which case I would really hope they'd put her either in a white bunny suit or an American flag inspired one. That'd be really cool, and I think it would be a way to get people to buy it, even people who don't collect Girls in Panzer. Like, I think people would think that's just kind of a cute, unique bunny design, but I digress. I think that this is an amazing bunny. I wasn't really understanding of the bunny hype. Has she really swayed me on the whole bunny debate as to whether or not they are worth it? No. I look at like 1/4 resin statues versus 1/4 bunnies, and it's just, it gets kind of messy is what I think I'm gonna go with. They're kind of simple, but they're also kind of huge. I really like it though, because again, we don't get a lot of K figures, and it is a very unique piece. There's only 2 Girls in Panzer girls who happen to have bunnies, and the next one at number 2 is Yukari, because I have the Yukari bunny as well. I was lucky enough to get these both for fairly decent prices. K was still like $100 over what she came out for, and she had a busted box, and she's technically damaged, but damage in Japan is not like damage in America, so it's like barely damaged according to my standards. Yukari was a bit more of a damaged case. She generally goes for about $400. Still don't think she's worth that, but I got her for the price that she came out for, whatever the heck that was. You'd have to look it up in my figure collection at this point. I don't actually remember off the top of my head. She came from the homeless smoker, didn't have a base. She also has some marks on her. Yeah, it's the stuff I do to save money. But ultimately, while I liked the K figure more when I initially opened them, because I liked K more, I think objectively Yukari's the better bunny. She just looks more interesting, her pose is more interesting, and I just think the saluting is just part of her character, fun, cute, I don't know, works out well. I mean, Kay's just going, which that's in character too, I guess, but if you're talking about who's got the more dynamic pose and all that, I think that Yukari looks better. Even her hair is more dynamic when you think about it. And my number 1, which I made a short about not too long ago, is the Sayori Valentine's Day figure. This figure is fantastic, and I said it was probably one of my favorites. I think it is my favorite, and that's why I put it up here. It definitely got bumped to the front of the list because it doesn't cost an arm and a leg, and it is perfect in every single way. There's literally nothing wrong with this figure at all. I love the metallic paint on it. I love the sculpting, every bit of it, the cake that she's holding. It's all just so perfect and cute. The colors are very bright and fun and happy. It's just a very nice figure. It's a very unique figure. It's the only Sayori figure I have, and it's the only figure that's really like this within all of Girls in Panzer. The closest thing you're getting that's like this is really the Miho Coco, so that's a completely separate line. They just happen to look good next to each other, and that's how I display them. But that figure is fantastic. I highly recommend, especially because she isn't that much, and she happens to be my favorite of the anglerfish team, so for me it's like, oh my gosh, yay, they made my favorite angler girl. So that also kind of sways me that way for sure, of her being like numero uno if I'm ranking all my figures. But anyways, that is actually all of the figures that I own, unless I totally forgot one, and you could totally point out if I forgot one of my own figures. That's kind of pathetic, but at the same time, I got a lot of crap in this room and in other rooms too. So if I forgot anything, go ahead and be like, hey, wait a minute, what about? Because I 100% believe I could have forgotten something, but I think this was a pretty good list. Thank you again to all of you who have subscribed and joining me in this entire collection journey and everything else that I happen to plop on here for all of your entertainment. I thoroughly enjoy this community. I hope you do too. I'm a figure collector who collects Girls in Panzer. However, every now and then I also collect whatever I want. If any of that sounds interesting to you, please go ahead, like and subscribe. It really helps me out, really helps the channel out. Go ahead and comment. It does. It boosts me in the algorithm, man. It's pretty neat. It's some cool stuff. I appreciate you all so much. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!